What's up, everybody? I'm back with another installment of Why Do I Own This? A series of videos where I take a good hard look at my vinyl record collection and give an account for these physical objects that I own. To that end, I've put a link in the description section below where you can check out my Discogs account, which has an up-to-date list of every single vinyl record that I own. You can check that list out and then drop into the comments section below and take me to task. Let me know which of my albums I need to answer for. My name's Adam McDorman, and this is Medium Quality. Taking a look at an old favorite of mine, The Dark Third by Pure Reason Revolution. Now, this is the debut album from a little-known UK prog rock group that I discovered when I was in college. I would probably describe this album, which is very ethereal in places, but also kind of heavy in other places, as sort of Porcupine Tree-esque, but seen through the lens of millennial sensibilities with a little bit of a DIY aesthetic. I think it's totally fair to call this thing a product of its time. It is music from the digital age, for sure. But it's mixed surprisingly well for an obscure prog rock album from 2006. I think the mix really highlights the ethereal, ambient elements of their music, but it lacks just a little bit of dynamics in a way that doesn't do a whole lot of favors for the heavier parts of the music. And of course, we got to keep in mind this album came out during what was probably the height of the loudness wars, where dynamics were not seen as a good thing in music. Everything was compressed and turned way up. And this album does have elements that would benefit from being just a little bit more dynamic. I actually picked up this 2011 first release of the album pretty recently. Apparently some new old stock got dug up out of a warehouse somewhere and I managed to grab a copy. I'm really surprised at how great this record sounds. It's really nicely mastered. It has a nice wide sound stage with the lead guitars and drums right in the middle of the mix, and some of the more sparkly bits at the far ends of the sound stage. It's a really great sounding record that I'm really quite glad to have. So that brings us to the ultimate question. Why do I own this? Well, I discovered this album in college during a very fertile time of music discovery for me. And this thing, for me, seems to bridge the gap a little bit between the progressive rock of the 90s coming into the early 2000s and the sort of underground alternative scene that I was getting very much into during my college years. In fact, the back of this album still has the band's MySpace page on it, which, if that doesn't place this into a very particular time period, I don't know what does. To call this thing millennial is quite appropriate. I mean, this group formed in the early 2000s in a college in the UK. I was in college at the time. It was a perfect match. So what do you guys think? Have you ever heard this album? If so, how would you describe its sound? It's really hard for me to put my finger on exactly how to describe what this album sounds like, and I've never heard anything quite like it, which is probably another reason why this is not leaving my record collection anytime soon. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up. If you want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And until next time, guys, keep spinning that good stuff. What a time to be alive.